MSW Media.
So yeah, now it's clean up on aisle 45 time. And for a long while yet, it is going to be clean up on aisle 45.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode 272 of Clean Up on Aisle 45. It's Wednesday, April 8th, 2026. I'm Allison Gill.
Hey, what's up, AG? It's Harry Dunn here. Like we keep on introducing ourselves to everybody. That's pretty, I love it. But look, lots to cover today, including, check this, a January 6th rioter has been sentenced to 4 years in prison for possessing child sexual assault material, and Judge Mehta allows the civil suit against Trump for January 6th to proceed.
Yeah, it's a big deal. Also, 2 insurrectionists tried to intervene in your lawsuit. Your and Danny Hodges' lawsuit was kind of laughed out of court there. That January 6th Plaque lawsuit. And the judge rebuffed them. I'll talk about that later because I know you can't talk about it too much.
Yes,
Jared Wise, the insurrectionist who got a high-level position at the DOJ, is out at the department.
Yeah.
He's left saying he doesn't trust the government, even though it's Trump's government. Plus, a bunch of former January 6th prosecutors have filed a brief in support of Representative LaMonica McIver and her arrest at a ICE detention facility. But first, we have some Hall of Fame patrons to thank, including Je Suis Fatigue, Scott Gregis, Maria Tovar, Al Morenin, Karen Sherman, SkintWalletsUSA.com wants your butt to look great. Use coupon code CLEANUP to get 10% off. There's a way to get an ad into this.
All right.
Patty B, Accidental Beans Bird Sanctuary founder. Oh, I like it's a Beans Bird Sanctuary.
Beans Bird, yeah.
Baseball Time in Baltimore. Okay, I'm assuming that's Buzz Grambo.
Yeah. Always a Baltimore reference in there.
Yeah, he's always like, you want Orioles tickets? I got good tickets. You come to Baltimore. Christine G. Passion, Lynn Bentley, and please don't read this on the pod. We don't need a call out. Thanks for what you do. And even though you say that, we continue to read that every time your name comes up. So anyway, like you said, Harry, so much going on. I think we should just jump in because we're never going to get through this entire show with all this news if we don't.
It's a lot.
So let's talk about departures. Way back in the day on Clean Up on Aisle 45, when Biden was in office, we had a segment about comings and goings because all the people that Joe Biden was firing to clean up the mess that Donald Trump left behind. But now Donald Trump's doing it himself. Let's start with Jared Wise. This is from MS Now. Trump fired Attorney General Pam Bondi on Thursday, but as it turns out, she's not the only highly controversial figure to exit Maine Justice this week. NBC News reported Jared Wise, a former January 6th defendant who was later employed by the Trump administration, resigned from the Justice Department, where he was working with the weaponization work group. Maybe he left because he was lonely after Ed Martin got pushed out. Quote, I returned to Washington to fully expose the abuses by the FBI and DOJ against January 6th defendants, but it became clear that this will only happen from outside of government. So I left and will do so. That's what he wrote on Twitter.
Interesting. Yeah, like you just said, it sounds like he doesn't trust the government, which is Trump's government. Anyway, there you go. If there were a competition for the most controversial hire of the Trump administration's second term, Wise is definitely a top contender. Last summer, the Justice Department's Weaponization Working Group hired Wise, a former FBI agent. Though his name is probably unfamiliar to most Americans, not our listeners, because we definitely talked about it and I was throwing the temper tantrum about it. But he was a ridiculous choice for the position of the DOJ for an important reason. Check this out. Wise was a January 6th rioter accused of encouraging the insurrectionist mob to, quote, kill police officers. He said it.
Indeed. And NPR obtained police body cam footage from multiple angles, that showed Wise berating officers, calling them Nazi and Gestapo. While MS Now hasn't independently verified that footage, NPR did obtain a transcript of Wise's testimony from his criminal case in which he acknowledged that he repeatedly yelled, kill him, as officers were being attacked. He was later seen celebrating after breaching the Capitol.
Yeah, and this all came out prior to him being appointed to this role, and it still happened. But federal prosecutors, however, didn't have the time to proceed with Wise's criminal case before Trump started handing out the pardons to the rioters, including violent felons who clashed and attacked and beat police officers. The New York Times last summer explained that Wise's role within the Justice Department was a remarkable development because it meant that a man who had urged violence, not even just violence, urged people to kill police officers, was now responsible for the department's official effort to exact revenge against those who had tried to hold the rioters accountable.
Yeah, and the administration didn't deny any of this, according to MS Now. The Justice Department was unembarrassed about its hiring of an insurrectionist captured on video urging rioters to kill cops. In fact, a DOJ spokesperson conceded Wise's role and described him as a valued member of the team. This week, however, Wise decided to step down, which is notable on its own, though I am struck, the person who wrote this article, by his description of the circumstances. He didn't resign because DOJ officials no longer wanted to be associated with him. Wise resigned because he no longer wanted to be associated with them. I don't know when the Justice Department's reputation will recover, but it won't be anytime soon.
Wow. That's crazy.
I know. This DOJ, this Trump's DOJ.
I don't want to be associated with them, but those are the people that literally gave him a second chance at life, if you will.
I know.
Because these are the same people that gave him a pardon. And like I said, this was before his trial went to case. I mean, his case went to trial. And I definitely believe he would have been held accountable and sentenced and served jail time. So that's
prison time,
truly remarkable.
For sure. But aside from him leaving and Pam Bondi being fired and going back to Kristi Noem losing her job, I think Lewandowski's out too. There's more coming up that the president is considering, right?
Yeah, it's going to be a lot more. All right, so this is from Politico, and Donald Trump has expressed frustration and disappointment with Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick and Labor Secretary Lori Chavez de Reimer, and is pondering making additional changes to his cabinet. He's very angry, and he's going to be moving people, an administration official familiar with the dynamics told Politico. I always love those little quotes, like he's very angry, and he's going to be moving people. That official and 3 other people with knowledge of Trump's thinking around his cabinet were granted anonymity to discuss the unresolved personnel issues.
All his personnel issues are unresolved, all of them.
All of them.
The additional potential moves follow the ouster of Pam Bondi Thursday, as former Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem was also fired last month. No final decisions have been made on Chavez de Reimer and Lutnick, as Trump has contemplated firing people, but then he's backed off before. Like, he's done this before. Like, I think I'm going to get rid of Patel, and then no. So should Trump proceed with a larger cabinet shakeup, it could represent a major attempted reset for an administration confronting an ominous political landscape. That's not why he's doing it, but, sure.
That's an understatement, an ominous political landscape. Yeah, that's an understatement right there. The potential high-level shuffling, a second senior official said, is focused on cabinet officials Trump feels have underperformed or who have generated too much negative attention. Like, Trump is the only one that can generate negative attention. Nobody else could do it. Nobody else. In a statement, Taylor Rogers, a White House spokesperson, said Chavez de Reimer and Lutnick are both doing a great job standing up for American workers, and they continue to have President Trump's full support. Yeah, we see how that always ends. The next thing you know, they're fired. Like, wait, I thought I was doing good.
They're doing great for the American workers. They're just stripping everyone of their collective bargaining rights and firing everybody. But it's great for the workers. A third White House official reached out to Politico on behalf of Lutnick, saying they hadn't heard anyone suggest changes at the Commerce Department. Quote, everyone's thrilled with the job Howard has done on trade deals, pharmaceuticals, Japan, tariffs, all of it. Yeah, everybody loves the tariffs. He's also taken a hard line on Canada from day one, which POTUS appreciates. Yeah, hard line on Canada.
Canada. All right.
Fucking Canada. Excuse me. I'm not supposed to swear during the public episode. But the second White House official said Lutnick is on thin ice. However, that official cautioned the president has pondered and moved off the idea of removing him before and has yet to go through with it. That same official suggested that Chavez de Reimer's future is also under discussion.
Chavez de Reimer has been under investigation by the Labor Department's Inspector General for allegations that include drinking alcohol while working and having an affair with a security officer. In addition, the Inspector General is probing whether her staffers inappropriately use official events as a way to facilitate her personal travel.
She did.
Yeah, she did. We also covered that on here too, on Cleanup. Trump too has voiced his own frustrations over Lutnick's family benefiting from their ties to the administration. That's ironic that Trump is upset about family members, right? Politico reported in February, Cantor Fitzgerald, where Lutnick's son's work has denied any conflicts of interest, even as it's acknowledged its record year.
Yeah, ding, ding, ding. Trump is frustrated over Lutnick's family benefiting from their ties to him. This is what upsets Donald Trump, okay?
Yeah.
People who make him look bad, people who don't go after his political enemies enough, but especially people who steal from the taxpayers and don't cut him in on the deal.
Like, where's my money?
That's exactly what it is. And that's why he's having the Inspector General, Kufari, over at DHS, who, by the way, is one of only 2 inspectors general that Trump spared when he fired all inspectors general.
Of them. Yeah.
He was the one who covered up and withheld the information from Congress about all of the January 6th Secret Service texts being deleted. Raskin has called for his removal multiple times because he's been under investigation for other things as well. But I think Trump's having Kufari investigate Corey Lewandowski because Lewandowski was making tens of millions of dollars on consulting fees with government contractors and basically not cutting Trump in on the action. That's what I think is upsetting Trump. People are making money off me and I'm not getting a cut. That's what he's mad
where's my
about.
cut? Where's his cut? That's all he's asking. Where is my cut?
Yeah, and Lutnick also faced bipartisan calls to resign when his name surfaced in the Epstein files, and he lied to Congress, when they found out, because he actually went to the island with his family and his kids and his nannies and was like, well, we left with all our kids, like it was an option to leave some of them there. And did you bring the nannies with you? Now, he's not been accused of wrongdoing in connection with the Epstein crimes, at least not officially. I've accused him personally in my brain. But Trump hates it when people profit off of his administration and don't cut him in. So I think that's what's going on.
Yeah, it definitely is. So, but the irony of it is his family benefiting from it. But look at Don Jr. and Eric and all these.
Oh, it's
people.
fine for Trump. He doesn't want anyone else to make money off of it without him getting something.
Yeah. Wild, ain't it? And this is from The Guardian. Donald Trump has privately asked cabinet members in recent weeks whether he should replace his director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, venting frustrations that she shielded a former deputy who undercut his rationale for war with Iran, according to 2 people briefed on the discussions. It's not clear that Trump will actually fire Gabbard over the episode. Currently, there is no standout candidate to take the job, and advisors have cautioned that creating a high-profile vacancy before a successor is ready could cause unhelpful political distraction.
There's no standout candidate to take the job. She's not a standout candidate for the job, and she's in it. I shouldn't say I can't believe it. I totally believe it. It's completely predictable, as a matter of fact.
But at the same time, they said this could cause unhelpful political distractions. But isn't that what Donald Trump wants? A distraction from Epstein? He loves
Pretty soon
distraction.
he's going to start releasing Epstein files, though, to distract from the war.
Exactly.
We'll see what happens. Now, we also have a story today from our friend Ryan Riley, who's amazing. I love Ryan. He wrote the book Sedition Hunters. He works at NBC, and he has a story about another January 6th pardoned criminal being sentenced to prison. And we're going to get to that right after this break. Stick around. We'll be right back. DeleteMe makes it easy, quick, and safe to remove your personal data online at a time when surveillance and data breaches are common enough to make everyone vulnerable. Privacy matters to me because it's too easy for personal information to end up online and stay there like forever. And when you bring it down, it pops right back up. Now, as someone with an active online presence, I think about that more than I used to. And if you have never personally dealt with identity theft, harassment, doxing, stalking, there's a good chance you know someone who has. I do, and it changes the way you think about online safety. You realize very quickly that your personal information can get into the wrong hands, and that's not a small thing. It can affect your sense of security in a very real way. That is part of why data brokers are so troubling. They profit from your data. You are the product. Your private details can be collected, packaged, and sold online. We're talking about your names, contact information, emails, home address, social security details, even information about your family members and where they live. That kind of access can lead to phishing attempts, harassment, and identity theft. But DeleteMe helps me push back on all of that. It removes your information from those broker sites and reduces how easy it is for your data to keep popping up and spreading again. The New York Times Wirecutter has also named DeleteMe its top pick for data removal services, which says a lot. And it's not a one and done thing. They do it once, but they do it all the time. They continually monitor the internet and these data broker sites for your information and pull it down whenever they see it. So take control of your data and keep your private life private by signing up for DeleteMe. Now at a special discount for our listeners. Get 20% off your DeleteMe plan when you go to joindeleteme.com/cleanup and use promo code cleanup at checkout. Again, the only way to get 20% off is to go to joindeleteme.com/cleanup and enter code cleanup at checkout. That's joindeleteme.com/cleanup, code cleanup. You'll be glad you did.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back. Okay. Like AG said before the break, our friend Ryan Riley over at NBC, the story, and Ryan's great. Like, if you all check him out on all his socials, he's always covering a lot of January 6th and Justice Department stuff. So a man pardoned by President Donald Trump for his actions on January 6th has been sentenced for possessing more than 100,000 child sexual abuse images and videos discovered in connection with his Capitol riot case.
My God. Daniel Tocci, he was sentenced to 4 years in prison by District Judge Mark Mastroianni. I think I'm saying that right.
It looks good to me.
District of Massachusetts. If I'm saying that wrong, so, let us know. And that was after this guy pled guilty to possession of child pornography, according to a Justice Department news release Monday that made no mention of the January 6th link. Of course it didn't. Now, Tocci has been set up to go to trial in the January 6th case early last year, but it was dismissed after Trump granted mass clemency to about 1,500 defendants tied to the attack on the Capitol.
Crazy 4 years, man. I feel like with that much, you need to do more. Anyway, federal prosecutors wrote in a sentencing memo in the child pornography case. In addition, all right, this is very disturbing, y'all. So this is a trigger warning for violence and animals, stuff like that. So proceed with caution. In addition to the child sex abuse material, Tocci's laptop contained extremely disturbing images of violent acts, such as a cat being killed by being put in a blender, a male shooting a female in the head, a dog being beaten to death, and severed heads and limbs, as well as images of videos of bestiality. Yeah, 4 years is definitely not enough. Before he pleaded guilty in September, Tocci's attorney had argued for the dismissal of the child sexual abuse material case because all of the evidence stemmed from the pardoned January 6th case.
Quote, the case against Mr. Tocci must be dismissed because the entirety of the evidence stems from a warrant that, according to Trump, should never have been issued. That's what Tocci's attorney wrote in July. President Trump recognized the ongoing nature of the injustice against Mr. Tocci. As the investigation took place over the course of 4 years, and the instant case, that's the child pornography case, is still being prosecuted. The Justice Department did not respond to the motion before Tocci's attorney withdrew it ahead of the plea hearing.
Yeah, during Trump's second term, the Justice Department has taken different approaches to whether evidence seized in the course of the January 6th investigations can be used to prosecute other crimes, arguing that gun crime cases should be dismissed, but not the child pornography cases like Tocci's. Last year, Trump re-pardoned January 6th defendant Dan Wilson over a gun case that stemmed from his Capitol siege case. The Justice Department also contended that Trump's sweeping January 6 pardons did not apply to a Capitol rioters' plot to kill members of the FBI for investigating him, resulting in a life sentence.
Yeah, so we've talked about they have no consistency on that at all. And Brian Cole Jr., the alleged pipe bomber, who's been charged in connection with those bombs left outside the RNC and DNC headquarters on January 5th, has also argued Trump's pardon should apply to him. Justice Department attorneys this week asked for more time to respond to Cole's argument about Trump's pardon. So that thing that we went over in the last episode about Brian Cole and his lawyers being like, look, it was at or near the Capitol and it had to do with January 6th.
That's literally the language, right?
DOJ has been covering up the fact that this guy is tied to MAGA and Stop the Steal in January 6th. They don't want people to know he's a massive Trump supporter, right? So they've been hiding that. And now they have to respond to whether Trump's pardon covers him or not. And they have asked for an extension because they don't know what the fuck to say. They're like, he's not part of the January 6th thing. Like, they have to argue this now. And this is going to be really interesting.
Sounds like they're scared.
Well, they have to tell the truth. about
that's why they're scared.
Yeah. Now, former January 6th defendant Andrew Paul Johnson was sentenced this month to life in prison after he was convicted of child sex crimes, a different child sex crime lawsuit, or a criminal charge, I should say. Law enforcement officials allege that this guy used the promise of money. Remember that he said he was going to win to sue because January 6ers were prosecuted and persecuted improperly, and he basically paid the kid that he assaulted. He said he was going to give him money from that settlement if he keeps his mouth shut to silence his victim. Now, Trump has floated the idea of compensating January 6 rioters, but no one's received a dime so far.
Well, not directly, I guess, from that, because, we got the lawsuit now where people are suing the Capitol Police and DC Police so they're trying to get money. And like I said, Donald Trump's making it easy for them.
They're still trying. Ashley Babbitt got $5 million in a settlement.
It's ridiculous. And with the Proud Boys that still have their $100 million lawsuit, or we got to find out the status of that. We'll cover that. But it's just ridiculous, the amount of people that are using this as a payday, but have the nerve to call people like myself and Sergeant Goodell, Daniel Hodges, grifters. It's insane to me.
And this guy promising, like, hey, don't tell anybody I raped you.
Exactly.
Because I'm going to get a big payday from the government because I was a January 6th rioter. It's just disgusting.
Disgusting. All right. Now, next up from Politico, a federal judge delivered a serious setback to President Donald Trump Tuesday in long-running civil lawsuits seeking to hold him liable for the violence at the Capitol on January 6, 2021. U.S. District Judge Mehta ruled that evidence produced so far in the litigation brought by police officers and Democratic lawmakers indicate that Trump's speech at the Ellipse that day was political in nature and not subject to the immunity the Supreme Court has found for a president's official acts.
Yep, that's right. That's right. The 79-page ruling, years in the making, by the way. They sued in 2021. I mean, this is a consolidation of about 7 cases.
Yeah.
Follows numerous efforts by Trump to scuttle the lawsuits by claiming he's protected by immunity from liability for his actions the day of the Capitol riot and in the weeks leading up. But the decision also portends years of additional litigation and appeals. This is not going to go quickly, everyone. Likely ensuring that Trump will be contending with the lawsuits for the remainder of his presidency. It also prolongs the wait for a resolution to one of the last remaining efforts by that day's victims to actually get some accountability.
Yes, a lot of my coworkers are, and former coworkers are involved in that, and I've been rooting for them from the start. While Mehta's ruling generally favored the plaintiffs, he certified some issues for another appeal by Trump lawyers. That's expected to stall the cases for a year or longer if the Supreme Court agrees to get involved, although some further fact-finding could proceed in the meantime. We may have a trial in the spring or summer of 2028, Sellers said. That would be more than 7 years after the events at issue in the cases. 7 years. The bulk of Mehta's ruling was an effort to assess whether Trump's actions could reasonably be seen as official conduct, which would largely protect it from being held against him in a civil lawsuit.
Yeah, and Judge Mehta also concluded that a call Trump placed to Raffensperger on January 2nd, 2021, please just find me 11,780 votes, so that he could be declared the winner, was political in nature. Quote, these are the words of an office seeker imploring a state official to alter the outcome of a Georgia election, not those of an office holder, an incumbent president acting in his official capacity. That's what the judge said. While the judge ruled that the speech and many other Trump activities appeared to be unofficial, he said a handful of Trump actions, including his directions to the Justice Department officials and social media messages prepared during the riot, had enough official character that they couldn't be used against him in any trial. So it's kind of a, these suits can go forward, but there are certain things that can't be used. This happened to Jack Smith too.
Yeah.
When the Supreme Court declared immunity, especially with any discussions he had with the Justice Department, Jack Smith had to reissue his indictment. He had to issue a superseding indictment, getting rid of all of the stuff with Jeffrey Clark and John Eastman and the Department of Justice, that whole conspiracy to write letters to 7 swing states saying, we're investigating fraud in your state in order to give cover for Mike Pence to throw out those electoral votes and sub in the fraudulent electors. That all that DOJ communication had to be scrapped. But Jack Smith said we still have a really, 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 really strong case because there were 5 conspiracies. Now there's 4. And that's one conspiracy too many for a president to be participating in.
Yeah.
So, we'll see what happens with this, but I'm really glad the case can go forward. These things do take a really long time, 7 years from start to finish, possibly. My lawsuit against the government for wrongful termination in 2019 still doesn't even have a trial date set. And it's been 7 years. So,
yeah. So it's important. It's important. It's very important, though, to keep it on. That's why we can't normalize this. Like, we can't just let them get away with it. I don't care if it takes 7 years, 15 years. We're going to do everything we can. It shouldn't take that long because justice is supposed to be swift.
No, it's not.
Yeah, exactly.
The wheels grind slow.
Very slow. That's that quote, the arc of the moral universe is long or whatever. Like,
but it bends toward justice. Yeah.
This is a long-ass arc.
Everybody knows it's long. It takes a long-ass time. We need to double the federal bench. But I've been saying that for 8 years.
Yeah.
So,
well, we're not going to stop saying it. I agree.
We aren't going to stop pushing our politicians to do the right thing, expand the bench and all that other stuff. So we've got a couple more news stories left. No updates on Rudy and the Pillow Man, unfortunately. So we'll have to save that for next week, perhaps. But we do have a couple other quick things to get to, and we'll do that right after this break. Stick around. We'll be right back. All right, everybody, welcome back. Hey, before we get to our final segment, Harry, I wanted to talk about some news that broke just on Monday as we were recording this, and that is that Steve Bannon, the Supreme Court, has vacated the appeals court upholding his conviction for contempt of Congress and is sending it back down, paving the way for his charges to go away. Now, he's already served his 4 months, right? It's kind of, I don't know, symbolic in nature since he's already done his prison time. But the Department of Justice has asked the Supreme Court, like, hey, we want to dismiss this, egregious miscarriage of justice case against Steve Bannon. And it appears that the Supreme Court, with no noted dissents, that doesn't mean that doesn't mean no one dissented, but there's just none noted. But the Supreme Court is saying, yeah, sure, DOJ, do whatever you want. You get to make the rules because you're the Department of Justice, showing them the presumption of regularity that virtually every other court in the country has stripped away. Yeah. And so even though Bannon has served his time, how do you feel about the Supreme Court allowing the DOJ to let him off the hook?
It's a continuation of, like I said, this crooked ass Supreme Court. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. But without seeing their what does it call it, ruling or whatever?
There's no ruling here. It's just
they just said, hey, it's okay.
We're going to hear your case. Yeah. And we're sending it back down. We grant you cert. We're sending it back down to the appeals court.
And I feel like that's just as simple as, and it sucks because it's politicizing the Department of Justice and politicizing the courts by saying, hey, if this is what they want to do, then it's okay, just as long as there's no law against it, even though it's 100% morally wrong. And
there is a law against it, though.
Well, for them not hearing it, to saying, hey, we'll just let the DOJ. That's what I'm saying. It goes to the politicization of it by allowing this Department of Justice.
It also shits on the courts. It shits on the judiciary. The Supreme Court is shitting on the judiciary by saying, we don't care that you convicted him. We don't care that you upheld his conviction in the district court. We don't care that you upheld his conviction in the appeals court. We're going to grant cert and kick this back down and probably do what the DOJ says just because the DOJ says so. They would not show such deference to the Department of Justice if this were a Democrat in the White House.
No, absolutely. And every time I just hear the Supreme Court and their rulings that they do, they just piss me off so much. I'm not shocked. I'm not shocked. So I guess I can't be disappointed.
It's just weird that John Roberts gets up. Oh, there's so many threats against the court. You need to stop threatening the court. And then he does shit like this.
To shit on the court.
Like to help people hate the court. It's pretty incredible. Now, NBC says Bannon was convicted in 2022 for not complying with the January 6th Select Committee subpoena. He did serve his 4-month sentence after the justices refused in 2024 to let him stay free out of prison while he appealed. He continued his appeal after serving his time, filing a petition with the justices in October for his appeals court loss. Now, the legal issue centered on the government's burden of proof in the contempt case. Bannon claimed he reasonably believed, based on legal advice, that he didn't have to respond to the committee's subpoena. He's using the legal advice defense.
My lawyers told me so.
Yeah. So to the extent that he raised an important legal question, it will remain unresolved with Monday's Supreme Court action. Notably, the Trump DOJ initially waived its right to respond to Bannon's petition to the High Court, which would have typically led to the court denying it and letting his conviction stand. But in November, the court requested a response from the Department of Justice, which in a typical criminal case would have been a brief opposing Supreme Court review and seeking to uphold the conviction, like they did in the Ghislaine Maxwell case. But the DOJ instead responded by seeking this bespoke treatment and that it be granted by the justices Monday. Now, again,
so Bannon not going to be held accountable.
Well, he did his time.
Yeah.
So he was held accountable.
Well, it's going to be dismissed. What's the term when they just
vacate it? Vacate
yes, that's what I was looking for. Vacate. Yeah. It's disgusting.
Now, the DOJ didn't specify why it wants to abandon the case at this point. Only it has determined in its prosecutorial discretion that dismissal of this criminal case is in the interest of justice. That's all they say. That's it. So
where's the justice? Justice for Steve Bannon? Give me hate these people.
Yeah, or justice for the people for his criminal contempt of Congress. And it makes me wonder if Pete Navarro is going to take the same route if he's got the money.
Does he really need it though? I mean, can it be just as simple as, hey, we're following the exact same model as this? Like, hey, on the grounds that Steve Bannon's was vacated, what about mine?
Right, cut and paste, right?
Yeah, literally just cut and paste. Or like you say, how Rudy used to do, Rudy and his lawyer, the AI, like having their chat GPT write it for him.
They're still doing that shit at the DOJ and getting in trouble for it. Yeah, I mean, he might as well just file a brief that says, you did it for Steve Bannon. Now you have to do it for me because I'm similarly situated. I'm exactly situated.
I feel like that's it. Like,
yeah, like you said. All right. Now I promise we're going to get to our final segment. I just wanted to bring that up because it was kind of breaking news and I figured you'd have an opinion on it because he's such a giant walking human canker sore and I hate his face. So we're going to get to those final two stories right after this break. Stick around. We'll be right back. All right, everybody, welcome back. Like I said, nothing this week from Rudy and the Pillow Man, but I wanted to discuss an update in your and Danny Hodges' lawsuit to properly hang the January 6th plaque. It's currently displayed in a non-public hallway inside the West Terrace where it should be outside on the West Front where the public can see it and celebrate it. That's how you honor people is by putting it out in public.
Yep.
And I'm going to report on this because, Harry, you can't talk about it much because you're a party in this case.
Party in this lawsuit, yep.
Yeah, well, 2 January 6th insurrectionists filed motions to intervene. This isn't fair. They were mad. And the judge ruled on those motions this week. And it says, quote, before the court are motions to intervene by Brian Mock and Cindy Lou Young, both of whom are convicted for their actions on January 6th and later pardoned. For the reasons that follow, the court will deny both motions. It says the putative interveners, Mock and Young, both of whom are proceeding pro se, that means without lawyers, were convicted for their actions on January 6th. Mock was convicted after a bench trial on 4 counts of assaulting, resisting, or impeding officers, 1 count of civil disorder, 1 count of theft of government property, 1 count of entering and remaining in a restricted building or grounds with a deadly or dangerous weapon, 1 count of disorderly and disruptive conduct in a restricted building on grounds with a deadly or dangerous weapon, 1 count of engaging in physical violence and restricting building or grounds with a deadly or dangerous weapon, and 1 count of committing an act of physical violence in the Capitol grounds or buildings. That's Mock. Young was convicted by a jury on 1 count of entering and remaining in a restricted building, 1 count of disorderly and disruptive conduct in a restricted building, 1 count of violent entry and disorderly conduct in a Capitol building, and 1 count of parading. So Mock moves to intervene in the plaintiff's case. That's your case, Harry, because he, quote, opposes the current petition for a one-sided memorial that exclusively honors law enforcement personnel involved in January 6th, while omitting the actions taken against unarmed civilians and peaceful demonstrators. Young similarly moves to intervene to, quote, protect her significant interest in ensuring, that any memorial of the events on January 6th at the Capitol is equitable, inclusive, and accurate. That sounds like DEI to me.
Sounds like DEI. Like, wait a minute. Keep on going, AG. I'm going to shut up.
And accurate. Great minds, my friend. It has to be equitable and inclusive and accurately reflect the experience of all individuals impacted by that day. Oh, my goodness. The judge says the court will deny Mock's and Young's motions to intervene because they lack standing, period. Neither has identified an injury, in fact, that is concrete and particularized, let alone a casual connection between such an injury and the defendant's action or inaction. See, Mock claimed, Harry, that no memorial for him would cause damage to his reputation and violate his constitutional rights. Young alleged that her prosecution and subsequent incarceration for misdemeanor offenses resulted in the loss of her business, and it inflicted depression and anxiety. That was, if she was on the plaque, it would fix it all. And the plaque will exacerbate those harms. Okay, that's her thing. So the judge said, what? And denied their motions for lack of standing. It's just like, I don't know what else to say to you people. I mean, he didn't say that, but the way that this
it was implied, I guess.
Ruling reads is like, I don't even know what the fuck you want me to say to you people. Your constitutional rights and your reputation are harmed because you're not on the plaque honoring law enforcement?
Yeah, give me a break.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what's going on in that. It was a nice little shot in the arm for that January 6th lawsuit, I thought.
Yeah, definitely. So thank you for covering that, AG. I have a lot of thoughts and we've definitely talked about them offline. So
yeah, we'll talk later, wink, wink.
Wink, wink. Yeah. All right. So our final violent story comes from our friend Scott McFarland at Midas Touch Network. Former January 6th prosecutors filed brief in support of Representative LaMonica McIver, the Democrat from New Jersey. The brief reads in part, the Constitution does not permit the executive branch to selectively wield its formidable prosecutorial power based on defendants' political views, partisan affiliation, or exercise of lawful rights. Yet the record in this case, particularly when contrasted with those other Section 111 prosecutions, leads to the unmistakable conclusion that such an impermissible considerations motivated the indictment here. The executive branch plainly views the January 6th defendants as its supporters, and it accordingly engineered favorable outcomes for them. Meanwhile, Congresswoman McIver challenged the administration and was charged based on far less serious conduct. To state the obvious, that is not how federal prosecutors or the federal criminal justice systems are supposed to operate. When a federal prosecution fails to abide by basic due process and equal protection principles, it falls to courts like this one to intervene. Very powerful statement there and a lot of truth in it.
Again, using the pardon of January 6th rioters who assaulted police as a contrast to LaMonica McIver, who was assaulted by police, but accused of assaulting police outside of a detention facility in New Jersey.
While doing her job, by the way.
Doing her job. That's basically the crux of this from former January 6th prosecutors filing this. I think it's I don't know if it's an amicus brief or a motion to intervene, but what did Scott McFarland say? This was a brief in support of. So probably
brief in support of, yeah.
To say, look, I don't know how you're going to pardon January 6th rioters for assaulting cops and arrest LaMonica McIver for assaulting cops, given what the January 6th rioters did was actually assault cops.
It's a very strong. I mean, and reading it, AG, there's not anything. I don't see how they defend it, you know?
Right.
Like it said, yet the record in this case, particularly when contrasted with those of other Section 111 prosecutions. What's that? What's a 111 prosecution, AG?
I believe that. Let me look that up. I believe it's assaulting
police. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. With other Section 111 prosecutions leads to the unmistakable conclusion that such impermissible considerations motivated the indictment here. And like I said,
111
that's right there.
111 makes it a crime to forcibly assault, resist, oppose, impede, intimidate, or interfere with designated federal officers. 111 was the law that ICE officers kept shouting at protesters.
Yes.
Section 111, bro. Read it. I'm going to arrest you for Section 111, bro. Blah, you know.
Yep. They thought they were invisible because of that. So.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Well, thank you for that update. I really hope I think LaMonica McIver is going to win her case if it's not outright dismissed in pretrial stuff for vindictive.
Unless it goes to the Supreme Court, those losers.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. This has to go to a jury trial. If it makes it to trial, it has to go to jury trial first. Supreme Court would actually have to overturn that verdict, and by doing so, overturn an appeals court, assuming the appellate court would also uphold the acquittal. But, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But very good argument. And thanks to the former January 6th prosecutors doing a lot of stuff these days. Former January 6th prosecutors.
They are.
I love that they're doing that.
Yeah.
All right. That's it. That's our show. Thank you so much for listening. We really appreciate it. We'll do our bonus episode this weekend for patrons, and we'll be back with the public episode next week. Who TF knows what's going to go down between now and then.
My gosh.
We'll definitely keep you posted. Do you have any?
Hey, G, real quick though, before I just want to think, and I saw this somewhere on social media, but I guess we talk about ICE, but somebody says how ICE was very comfortable not wearing masks in airports, with the TSA, but they had to be having their mask on while they're in the streets beating the hell out of people. I just thought that was a hell of an interesting contrast. I saw that. I was like, you're 100% right, because ICE is not wearing masks walking through airports.
Yeah, I'm working there. And somebody is actually put out, we had a good trouble segment on the Daily Beans maybe a week or two ago, saying, hey, everybody, snap some photos of their badge numbers and their faces and upload them to this portal.
Why not? I mean, why not? It's public space, right?
I mean, they're snapping pictures of our faces and, using Palantir to make a database of Antifa.
Yeah.
So we might as well.
We're all Antifa, man. Jeez Louise.
Yeah, and taking photos of police officers and filming ICE is not a violation of 18 U.S. Code Section 111. Okay.
When you obstruct them and get in their way, then that's where it gets hairy, and you got to, they can use that, but it's not illegal to film the police.
No. Nor if you do obstruct and get in their way, like if they're shoving down a woman who's filming them and you try to stop that from happening, Section 111 is not doesn't warrant the death penalty. So people shouldn't be shot in the back for doing that, like Alex Preddy was.
Like Alex Preddy. Yep.
For helping a fellow protester, peaceful protester, who's being shoved by ICE for filming them. Anyway, we're going to talk about this on the Beans too, but that, what was his, Cesar Sosa Celis, right? The guy who the ICE said beat him. He beat us with a shovel and a broom handle.
Yeah.
New video emerged.
Of course it did. There's always Monday, a video to the contrary.
Showing that none of that was true and that they lied. Now, the case had already been dropped against him. But apparently the feds had that video the day, like weeks before they even brought the charges against these guys. And then they've dropped them because they know they can't go to court with this video evidence. They really probably only indicted him just to, for a news story.
Yep.
Which is, an improper use of an indictment. But this just underscores the lies from ICE agents about these alleged assaults upon them. Meanwhile, rooting for the pardon of January 6th rioters.
It's disgusting. And we got to do something about it. And when I'm in Congress, I will move to abolish ICE.
Excellent. Abolish ICE. Fantastic. Appreciate you, my friend. All right, that was my long goodbye, everybody. We'll see you next week. I'm Allison Gill.
Harry Dunn. Thanks, y'all.
Cleanup on Aisle 45 is written, researched, and produced by Allison Gill, with editing by Molly Hockey. Our art and logo design are by Joelle Reeder and Moxie Design Studios, and our music is composed and performed by Adam Orr. Cleanup on Aisle 45 is a proud member of the MSW Media Network, a collection of creator-owned podcasts dedicated to news, politics, and justice. For more information, visit mswmedia.com. MSW Media.